A guy I really liked saw me ducking a guy at a New Year's Eve party, so I let him have a turn too. My husband has little to no sex drive. I love him, but we constantly fight over my sexual desires. I finally got my husband to agree to an open relationship. My husband's best friend has always been in open relationships, so we talked to him about it. He suggested we use strangers so we didn't ruin any friendships. So that is how we started. But I always felt weird being with strangers. While I have a high sex drive, I have never been much of a one-night stand kind of person. My husband and I talked and decided he'd be okay with me having sex with his best friend. We begged him for probably a year and a half before he finally caved in. I think it was a mix of me begging all the time, and him going through a dry spell. The sex was really good, but he would only hook up with me about once a month. My husband and I ended up moving out of state. We'd see his friend a few times a year. We'd always try and talk him into moving here, since we don't have many friends here, and him and my husband used to hang out literally every day pretty much. He always said no. We even offered to let him move in with us rent-free and job-free, still he'd say no. In May we were at a wedding, sitting at the reception. We started asking him to move and he said, "Duck it, let's do it." We thought he was just kidding. But 2 weeks later we were moving him in. It has been way more wonderful than I had expected. I figured I'd probably be able to talk him into having sex with me once a week, but it's literally whenever I want it. I can swing by on my lunch break and he's ready to go. I can come home from work and he's ready. I can wake up in the middle of the night and crawl into his bed, and he's ready. We can all be sitting on the couch watching Netflix. He will just start rubbing my butt, or fingering me. It has even gotten my husband's libido up. We have threesomes. He enjoys watching us, and sometimes even after his friend and I are done he will want his turn. It's not even all just about the sex. It's like having a live-in maid. He does all the cleaning, all the yard work, all the little fixer-upper projects. He does the grocery shopping, and even most of the cooking. It's amazing to come home to the smells of a home-cooked meal being made when you walk in the door. We didn't even ask him to do any of it. He just started doing it. He keeps talking about looking for a job, but honestly I don't want him to get one. I love having him around, and my husband and I both make good money, so there isn't really a need for him. A year or so ago, I met a local, older man in an online forum. He seemed like a pretty good guy. Widowed at 55, he was almost sad in his loneliness. I ended up meeting him for coffee and we hit it off quite quickly. Even though he was more than double my age, I loved the intensity in his voice and the calm maturity in his manner. This is why girls date older men. I thought they have their shit together more than guys my age. I love this. We ended up starting a semi-regular sexual relationship, where I would come over to his house, he had a very nice one, and take a swim, son. And then we would have sex. A lovely way to pass the day. On his shelves, I did notice that he had twin daughters, Maggie and Betty, about my age. Okay, I thought, so this is a bit kinky. But, hey, he seems like a good, lonely man. I am a cute young girl. Nothing wrong here. His wife and one of his daughters, Betty, had been killed in a car accident a few years earlier. One day, he asked if I would mind if he called me Betty, for whatever reason. And yeah, I knew this was getting weird. I said it would be fine. Now, I don't know why I did not go running for the door at the point, but I didn't. So, here I am, having sex with an older man, whose dead daughter looks like me, and he is calling me by her name. I am for sure thinking this is where it ends, and my relationship with him too. And then it got even weirder. In walks another girl, who does look a lot like me. And the man quietly asks, "Do you mind if Maggie joins us?" Nope, I am pretty much one of the kinkier people I know, but there is a point where you just have to add it all up and say to yourself, get the hell out of here. As it turns out, I found one of my limits that day. This happened last summer. I thought it would be good to start going through the vault and pull out some past confessions. It was a friend's birthday, obviously, and one of his friends was throwing a party for him. A typical 20s let's pretend it's college again party with too much cheap beer and a bunch of rowdiness. I didn't know many people there. A lot of that friend group drifted off, but him and I kept in contact, so I did my friendly duty and made an appearance. I drank, mingled, And later on in the night, one of our few mutual friends, they suggested it would be a good gift for him if I gave him a lap dance. I had never given a lap dance before and had no confidence in my abilities, but I figured a little quick one couldn't hurt and I just leave my clothes on. They get him in a chair in the middle of the living room, play some cheesy ass 80s stripper rock, and I do my thing. I have no clue what I'm doing, so it's mostly just grinding my crotch on his and shaking my butt at him. He's being super handsy, grabbing my butt, feeling my tits over my shirt. I figure whatever, he might as well enjoy some of it. I run out of things to do, tell him happy birthday, and I go back to the party. A little later people start dispersing and birthday boy comes up to me asking me why I stopped. I told him I wasn't that good and he told me he wished I kept going. He asked if I'd give him another and I said no. So then he asked if he could have a little something more instead. I was all for it, honestly. No one else at the party struck my fancy and I knew he wasn't the type to catch feelings. We ended up in the basement. It was a split-level house, so the basement led to the backyard, in a little den area, and we're mostly alone on the couch. Maybe 1 or 2 people were around. He's on me, pawing at me, kissing me. After a bit he sits back, yanks his pants down and asks me to blow him. I do, not really paying attention to my surroundings. I blow him for a good bit, and when I sit up I realize there's kind of a crowd watching. By crowd I mean like less than 10 people, but still an audience is an audience. I was buzzed enough it didn't bother me. He had me lay on the couch, got my pants off, drunkenly ate me out for a while. One guy walked up and asked if he could grab a tit, and I'm not one for saying no. When he was done eating me out he climbed on top and went to town, pumping away at me. No one was really overtly saying anything to us, but people were talking to each other about us. I do remember one guy calling my friend lucky, and one of the only direct things was someone asking him to take off my shirt so they could see my tits. He ducked me, told me he wanted to come in my mouth, so when he got close he told me, pulled out, and I took him in my mouth. He came, I swallowed. No one clapped or cheered or anything. One guy said it was hot. One girl gave me a kind of uck, what a slut bitch face look. We got dressed and people dispersed. My friend went back upstairs and I stayed down a bit until I snuck out and went home. I recently got a job for the summer at a golf course as a beverage cart girl. Figured it would be good money as I'm a decent looking girl. Yesterday I went in to talk to my boss and get a rundown of what to do for my first shift. I get there and meet my CO worker. We will call her Alyssa. Alyssa is an extremely good-looking girl, a pretty face, but where she really shines is her body. After seeing this girl's butt in the little skirt we wear as our uniform I was jealous. Girls notice other girls' bodies too, and her butt had to have been one of the fattest I've seen. She introduced herself to me and we talked for a bit before she goes out on the course. After talking with my boss a little while longer she says she has to go, but I'm free to take a cart and take a lap around the course, which I do. It was later in the day so it wasn't busy at all. I get to a very secluded hole on the course and I take a turn around a sharp turn on the cart path and see Alyssa bent over the seat of her cart getting absolutely drilled by a guy I found out was 72 years old later. She heard me and quickly turned and pulled her skirt down while the guy still had his back to me. She begged me not to tell anyone. I didn't want to make enemies day one, so I said yes. Before I could get away the old guy turns around and holy crap, this old guy had an absolutely massive bishop. I've never seen anything nearly that big. I was almost scared and worried for Alyssa. It was so big he was struggling to get it back in his pants while it was hard. He eventually gave up and just walked over to me, with his gargantuan love handle out, and handed me a $50 bill and told me to be quiet about this. I've been good friends with Adam for about a year. I was hoping to be exclusive with him until I found out he started dating someone else. I was on the fence about going to this New Year's Eve party since Adam was going to be there, but as I'm sitting in this lift on the way home, looking like a mess, I regret nothing. For much of the party I was chatting up this guy. He seemed cool. I think I might have just been doing it to make Adam jealous. Regardless, I made out with the guy on the couch and eventually he invited me to the apartment's laundry room. I blew him for a bit, but eventually I bent over the washer and let him duck me from behind. Then, through the window, I saw Adam step outside to smoke. The guy definitely saw him too. He started to hesitate, but I told him not to stop. I love an audience. I ended up pulling my dress down to expose my bust and staring at Adam, who was very bad at hiding his desire to watch. He smoked like 3 cigarettes, and every time he'd glance over I'd start playing with my nipples. I'd put my finger in my mouth. I'd mouth things to him. The guy finished into the rubber. I fixed my dress. We returned to the party but parted ways. Then I find Adam. As soon as he sees me he gets very nervous and very affectionate with his girlfriend. I chat him up. I'm very good at holding a completely innocuous conversation with a guy who just watched me come twice while bent over a washing machine. His girlfriend walks away. The first thing I say is, I hope you enjoyed the show, but you should have waited for your turn, and he immediately got hard. I end up holding another conversation with him while rubbing him through his pants, and he comes within minutes. So I accidentally spilled a bit of my drink onto the cum stain. Oh duck, I'm sorry, let's go to the laundry room and get you cleaned up. At this point his girlfriend wasn't even paying attention. She was enjoying the party. I locked the door to the laundry room, closed the blinds, and took everything off. He sits me on top of the washer and eats me out. I get off very easily, and he's getting hard again. I laid on the counter and he ducked. He laid on the counter and I rode him, and then he bent me over the washer, ducked me from behind and came inside of me. Adam went outside and smoked. I cleaned myself up and returned to the party. As Adam returned to the party I heard his girlfriend ask, "Where have you been?" Not in an accusatory way, just in a curious way. I was just having a smoke.
You watched till the end? We are honored. You made Moogly very happy. Thank you. Subscribe to make Moogly happy every day.